Well, the first of what I can only assume are many of my tickets for Spider-Man No Way Home have been secured for opening night, and a new big blockbuster can only mean one thing: a brand new series of retro reviews here on the channel, and ain't no way I'm gonna be getting any of this. You know, I still have no freaking clue what that sound was, but it's so funny. How's it going, guys? My name is Zack. Welcome to a brand new movie review, and I'm discussing all new things cinema and entertainment over here on this channel. I really do appreciate you guys clicking on this thumbnail today. I really hope you enjoy your stay, because judging from the title and the thumbnail, we've got a very special topic on the docket today with Spider-Man, the worldwide phenomenon that took the movie world by storm back in 2002. Of course, it was directed by Sam Raimi, and it stars Tobey Maguire as this iteration of the webhead, which a lot of people have considered the best. This movie, of course, as if you weren't aware, centers on student Peter Parker, who after being bitten by a genetically altered spider gains superhuman strength and the spider-like ability to cling to any surface. And he vows to use his abilities to fight crime, coming to understand the words of his beloved Uncle Ben, played by Cliff Robertson: "With great power comes great responsibility." When the trailer for this movie was released in the fall of 2001, people went nuts. Because entering the new millennium especially, superhero movies were diamonds in the rough. Sure, we had gotten the Superman movies, which were undoubtedly cheesy and a lot of fun. We had gotten the Batman movies, which after Batman Returns were pretty much ruined beyond the point of no return. Thank you for fixing that, Christopher Nolan. But none of these were major hits up until the year 2000 when X-Men came into the picture. But even with that certified hit, Sony was still kind of testing the waters to see if people would even be interested in superhero movies at this time. They were taking a pretty big risk, even with the enormous success of the X-Men. And let's just say, guys, that they caught lightning in a bottle. Spider-Man is honestly one of the most important movies growing up in my household. It was a gigantic bonding mechanism between my brother and I. We were invested in the stories, we were invested in the rivalry, we were invested in the romance. It was all incredible. And yes, today, 19 years after the fact, this dialogue feels incredibly cheesy. David Koepp's screenplay doesn't necessarily hold up the best in my opinion in the dialogue department, but not to worry, there are things with this script that I will heavily praise as we go through this video. Because damn me if I did not find this script entertaining. While not to mention being pretty damn quotable. What about my generous proposal? Are you in or are you out? It's you who's out, Gobby. Out of your mind. Ha, got him. Who says that these days? Better yet, who said that in the year 2002? But oddly enough, the cheesiness of the dialogue really helps to capture the cheesiness of the comic books. It really felt like an old Stan Lee comic book from the 1960s, hot off the presses. And that brings me to Sam Raimi as the director. I thought he was the perfect choice to helm this, not only because of his in-camera techniques displayed in the Evil Dead movies, but he was a legitimate fan of the source material. And that always makes me so happy whenever I see filmmakers put out projects that they're legitimately interested in making. And it makes me so thrilled to see a movie where the love and the investment was clearly put into this. And a lot of people still do consider Spider-Man a classic superhero movie. Now, that's not to say that I don't have my nitpicks with it, and I'll certainly talk about those. But first things first, I gotta address the casting choice of Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man himself, which a lot of people, I'm sure, criticized the hell out of. This was the guy who was most famous for playing the lead in Cider House Rules, the hitchhiker in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, so I'm sure a lot of fans back in the day found this bizarre. I mean, nothing's changed. These casting announcements come out. I remember the absolute backlash that Robert Pattinson got when he was cast as Batman. And then people were like, oh, Edward Cullen as Bruce Wayne? What the f***? I, on the other hand, actually really enjoy Tobey Maguire in this film. He embodies the geeky side of Peter Parker so incredibly well. And not to mention, it's super easy to root for this kid. And that's why I think the first act of this movie is so effective. As cheesy as this script is, it is definitely aware that Peter's gotta be knocked down a few pegs to make his heroics seem all that more amazing. Just the sequences in high school with Flash Thompson, him chasing the bus down at the beginning after it pans from MJ to Flash to the chubby kid with the donut, and then everybody laughs at this poor kid except for Mary Jane Watson. This is all to establish him as a pure underdog. And I think Maguire embodies the underdog so well. Now, I realize that a lot of people have tended to complain that there's not enough quips from Spider-Man in this, but I think that this script, again, I'm praising David Koepp despite the cheesiness of his dialogue, I think that there's a perfect balance, because I feel like if there were any more quips thrown into the mix, it would have become a little bit too overbearing, and it would have made Spider-Man kind of unlikable and kind of a dick. Would have turned Spider-Man almost into an anti-hero at that point, and let's just say there is a huge difference between this character and Deadpool. So I think the script balanced it out just right in terms of the quips. Now, if there's one nitpick that I have with Maguire's performance, maybe the transformation scene could have been a little bit funnier. Like, the transformation itself was fine. Him coming home and brushing off Aunt May and Uncle Ben, him lying on the floor and spiders flashing before our eyes, that's all really sick. But then when he looks in the mirror and he's ripped all of a sudden, it looks like he's kind of brushing it under the rug. Like, okay. Yep. Big changes. Cool. I feel like a little bit more in the comedy department would have helped that scene. Now, while I was thinking about Uncle Ben and Aunt May, these two together were absolutely marvelous. Cliff Robertson and Rosemary Harris just make you feel so welcome in these roles. And they nailed the famous scene where Cliff Robertson utters "with great power comes great responsibility" straight off the comic book presses. And that scene is made all the more effective when Peter discovers Uncle Ben had been shot. That right there not only was emotional, but that was Spider-Boy becoming Spider-Man for all intents and purposes. And how Maguire played that moment, and how Cliff Robertson especially played that moment, that just made me want Peter to find the killer all the more. Now, going back to the general casting topic, Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson, I actually found fantastic. Yes, she's a damsel in distress. Yes, she has to be saved all the time. But again, this script does a fabulous job of fleshing out her character to make her at least an interesting damsel in distress. She's an extrovert whose home life is super abusive, and she wants to escape all of that to be a Broadway actress. That's awesome. But in the end, yeah, the romance between her and Peter has some super cheesy one-liners. I hunch. Don't. As weird as that whole scene was, I oddly found myself super invested in this romance. I think they got the paralyzing high school crush down pat. Admittedly, I feel like all of us have had one of those at some point in our adolescence. You know, the kind of crush where you don't want to tell anybody about it, but everybody with half a brain can figure it out. I feel like we've all been there, done that, and I think they captured that wonderfully. But okay, guys, you want to talk about perfect casting? Let's talk about Willem Dafoe a little bit. As Norman Osborn / the Green Goblin, picture perfect. He has got that Jekyll and Hyde conflict down. He's got the intimidating snarls down. And the cackle, oh my god, the cackle. So good. And you can tell that he loved playing this part on set. And I've actually heard that he was campaigning pretty hard to snag this role. Unbelievably, Sam Raimi was not gonna pick Willem Dafoe for this, but once he did get it, he went all in, doing the majority of his own stunts to my understanding. And that's crazy, especially looking at that final fight scene, which I'll get to, and you gotta give Willem Dafoe props where it's due. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, it would be kind of redundant for me to kind of rag on this suit, because for lack of a better comparison, it looks like a Power Ranger. But I will actually disagree with my buddy Jacob Hubbard, who reviewed this movie not too long ago. Shout out to you, my friend. He actually had some things to say about this mask. Yes, it is silly, but I still find it super intimidating that the mask doesn't move, because one resting facial expression on this mask leaves a lot of interpretation up to the audience as to what's going on in that sick, demented mind of his. But nevertheless, I loved him in this movie. I cannot wait to see him return in No Way Home. Speaking of perfect casting, I gotta talk about J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. There's a reason people were excited to see him in the post-credits of Far From Home, because there is not a single other human being on the face of this earth that could play this part as well as J.K. Simmons does. Even though his hatred for Spider-Man and claiming him to be a menace does feel kind of out of nowhere, you don't care because he's just so funny in this. If we can get a picture of Julia Roberts in a thong, we can get a picture of this weirdo. Get out of here! Guys, everybody in this cast is top dollar, and I haven't even talked about James Franco as Harry in further detail. He was magnificent as well. Just the resentment he has towards his father paying more attention to Peter because Peter is a lot smarter than Harry is, that is just the slightest hint at tension between the two. And this is something I'll certainly dig into as I talk about the other two Raimi films in the trilogy. But before I get to that, I gotta talk about this intense, iconic score by Danny Elfman. So cool. Perhaps one of his best scores he's ever composed. And I will honestly be kind of sad if this theme does not pop up in No Way Home. Because let's face it, Tobey Maguire is definitely going to be in this. If the Raimi villains are in there, why would Tobey Maguire not be? You heard it here first. But Elfman just makes every tiny little thing within this world feel so much more epic. That famous scene where Peter's climbing the walls for the first time, the iconic dun, 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 done. Yeah, it's so good, guys. All these technical elements, I think, meld together super well for the most part, especially when it comes to these action sequences. I have two that I'd like to highlight for you guys, if you don't mind. Number one, you knew it was coming from me, the wrestling scene. What else do I really need to say about this? Octavia Spencer is the gal signing Peter in for the match. That is awesome. Bruce Campbell is the ring announcer. That is awesome. Macho Man Randy Savage as Bonesaw. Dude, this is the greatest thing ever. And not only is the scene great, the fight is really fun to watch, and it's so funny inside the cage. That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you? I used to watch that scene over and over again as the young wrestling fan growing up. I loved that scene as a kid, and I still do going on 25. The human spider, that's it? That's the best you got? Oh, that sucks. And number two, I would like to talk about the final fight scene. My friends, there is not another word to describe this other than brutal. Spider-Man is getting his ass handed to him in this. Blood is dripping out of his nose. The mask is half ripped. It is pure misery, misery, misery as he's chosen. But then once Gabi brings MJ into the mix, then it gets real. And it ends up with Norman dying at the hands of his own glider, Harry discovering Spider-Man laying his father's corpse on the couch. Oh, so well realized. It made me want more. Yeah, guys, I realize I've been gushing about this movie a long time at this point, but guess what? It's well warranted. Even though this film does have problems with some overly cheesy dialogue, and yeah, some of these action set pieces, especially with the CGI, feels very Matrix-like, very dated, but I really respect what this movie was able to pull off. It made fans fall in love with such an iconic character all over again. I adore this movie. As a kid, this movie and the way it concludes, Mary Jane asking Peter to date her at her ex-boyfriend's father's funeral, nice timing. But the way this movie all wrapped up made me want to see more. It gets me invested in the romance. It gets me invested in the Peter versus Harry saga. And I cannot wait to revisit that with you guys. But for right now, I'm gonna give Spider-Man an A-. What else is there really to say about this movie? I would recommend that all of you geeks check this out right now, but chances are you've probably already beat me to the punch on that one. But guys, feel free to make some noise down in the comments section below. What did you guys think of this original Spider-Man film? Is it your favorite in the trilogy? And feel free to let me know who your favorite Spider-Man actor is. Is it Maguire? Is it Garfield? Or is it Holland? But I would love to hear all of those thoughts and then some down in the comments. It really does make my day. I love making these videos, and just hearing your response and getting to interact with you guys makes it all the better. But hey, if you guys are new to the channel and you guys want to continue discussing all these new topics in cinema and all things entertainment with me, then I would consider smashing that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. This channel is on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I'm hoping to reach that very soon. Subscribing to the channel is really beneficial for you because you guys will be the first ones in the know about whenever a new video hits this channel. Not to mention, it's also completely free. Speaking of, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button on your way out the door. That would be absolutely tremendous, guys. And of course, stay tuned for all this brand new exciting content hitting this channel very soon. Keep in mind, the review for Spider-Man 2 might be coming out sooner than you think. I am so pumped to revisit that, guys. But I cannot thank you guys enough for your support up to this point. Y'all are the best. And with all that being said, back talk, commence!